Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar, Data Survival Skills with Eric LeMarque. That's me. And I'd like to thank you all for coming. We do have a large crowd, so we're going to keep things moving, showing you some content, less sales, and then really give a personal touch so that we can ask any personal questions or technical questions as well. Here's a picture of our US-based corporate office here in Agora Hills, California. It's located right between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara, very close to the Pacific Ocean and to Malibu. I'm joined today again with Jack Lunkovich. Jack's been with NovaStor for over 20 years. He's the head of our support. He's the head of our quality control. And there's nobody better to understand backup day-to-day operations, companies, infrastructure, and the complex networks of multi-platformed or highly virtualized environments. And so we have a real pro here with us today. We have a real pro who's trained up our support staff. Everything is always managed and handled out of this office. We make the software and design it here. All of our departments are here, as well as our support. It is not, you will never be outsourced with Nova Backup. So our agenda. What am I up to today, or what's going on with the movie and whatnot? We'll get into that. Building a proper backup plan, preparing for ransomware, and even understanding what it is. Maintaining compliances. There are all kinds of vertical markets with all the listeners that we have here today, whether it's financial, whether it's educational, legal, real estate, in the healthcare. There are governing bodies that require that you meet these compliances, and we'll show how Nova Backup can do that and give you a checklist for it as well. Backup vendor expectations. What can you expect and what should you expect when you partner up and team up with somebody? And then, of course, we're going to open it up to a very intimate session where we want to answer questions. There are buttons that you can answer questions, as we're going along. However, we're going to answer them and wait to the end to answer. Now, I had somebody send me a message. Can everybody hear me okay? Can somebody type in there? Because somebody just said no sound. Okay, so everybody can hear me. It sounds all good. Thank you for that. And I just wanted to make sure that there was no problems. Thanks for all the responses, everybody. Okay, so let's move on. What am I up to today? I've been outside my responsibilities here at Nova Backup, NovaStor. I have been writing a book about my survival story, as well as a movie that is in theaters today, as well as on demand, video on demand, and pay-per-view. There's select theaters throughout the entire nation. The story is summed up like this. I'm a former NHL Olympic hockey player who decided to quit and become a snowboarder, would begin to hang out with the wrong types of people, would begin to think that it was okay to experiment with some gateway drugs. And inside of 8 months, I had a full crystal meth addiction. And in that case, I was kind of addicted to two powders, one that fell from the sky and one that I was sniffing poison up my nose. What a life out of balance, and who was I kidding to think that I could ever advance in any athletic career that way? I would go on to survive and get stranded and trapped in a freak snowstorm, losing all visibility for 8 days. And my inability to sit still would lead me to the wolves. I'd fall into a ravine and practically break my ankle. I was swept into a river under the ice and dragged along jagged rocks, which tore my shins up. I ripped skin that was frozen from my feet when I took my socks off to take a look at my feet. I would travel 9 miles. My body temperature would become 86 degrees. In addition to that, a week later, after I was rescued by the National Guard, my body temperature went up to 107.3. Thankfully, I didn't have any kind of shock or stroke, but subsequently I would lose my Olympic legs to frostbite. And so if you want to push deeper, the movie deals with the 8 days and the backstory, but the book then deals with the real challenges and the real mountains that I was faced with, which were What did I do when I had pushed the envelope and right on through and was reduced to those four walls in a hospital room and a flat sheet where my legs used to tent up? I had to find my way out of that darkness and learn how to tell the truth again. I had to learn how to redefine myself as a person, or from Eric LeMarque, the athlete. I had to learn how to put the boy to bed and bring a man in me out who asks for help, who uses the resources to make sure that I had protective boundaries and I got the help in accepting some of the addictive behaviors and the characteristics of that, as well as I learned to forgive myself and accept a life that I have here today. So I've been pretty busy because Josh Hartnett himself, he is shooting a film. He's been pretty busy, and he's in the UK. So I've been on both premieres. I've been out on the red carpet with the other cast members for the crew. As I said, the movie is 8-day with the backstory, but the book dives deeper. It's available on Amazon. The book, you could just type 6 below. But of course, the first 100 people in attendance are going to get a book that I'll sign. And if you want me to put a special note to somebody with all that I just shared you, that's my good pleasure and my subsequent opportunity in life. And I hope you enjoy that full story. So that's why I was chosen to do a webinar on surviving. So let's jump into the actual webinar itself. Enough about me. You wouldn't know it, how life works, but I would end up by accident reading a survival book the night before I got lost. I learned that snow dehydrates you. I learned that snow is an insulator. I learned that if you eat the snow, it'll make you colder. And I also learned that if you ever get wet, you could roll in the snow to absorb some of the moisture off of your clothing with the dry snow. But I never had a strategy or a plan. And an efficient strategy in protecting critical data doesn't just start with a piece of software or a service. It's with the planning that you have. And that planning goes into the workplace, to your day-to-day operations, to the guidelines of how you treat downloads, emails. When sensitive information is required, do you have special coding that you use so that you know it's coming from internal? How do you deal with the attachments? What do you do about leaving your machines on sleep or unlocked or open? The most important thing about a backup strategy is making sure that unequivocally you can get back to business as usual as quick as possible. So I would recommend starting with these questions, and I suggest answering these first. What do you really need to back up? How often must it be backed up and restored? How much time will you have for the restore? And what level of security? Who are you going to give access to these backups and this protected data? We have, before I go any further, I would like to just take one poll or a couple polls here to see, to see what we can do. I have a couple questions. So I would first just like to best understand, who we're talking to. And if you guys can answer those questions for me, I'll post the results. That would be great. And just wait another minute here. And I've got a pretty good gauge, so I'll close the posting. And hey, thank you everyone, because it's like 100% of the people, it seems, just about gave the information. So let me close that poll, and now let me share with you, who's out there. So most of you are home users and small businesses, and some of you are our partners that we have partnerships with that you provide IT services for other people. A couple more polls if you can. We're curious. We again like to know who we're talking to. We want to know the heartbeat of our customers. We want to understand what your needs are. This helps us make better webinars, and it helps us be in touch continuously with our customers. All right, most people voted. Let me just close it because it shows that how often do you or your clients test the ability to back up? And let me share the results. It's kind of alarming, and this is addressing something extremely important. You should be at least every quarter restoring your data and making sure that you can restore it. So I'm going to hide that. If we have time, what we'll do is we'll come back to possibly another poll. And then again, I do have 3 handouts to distribute after the webinar. And after the webinar, you'll have the form to fill out as well with a call to action with an offering, as well as where you would fill out the information and special requests for a book. So we'll get you those documents. Back to building the backup strategy. It's going to be in the handout, the link at the bottom, and it's going to go into detail about analyzing and recording your requirements and assessing what your legal requirements are, the inventory and current and future IT systems. What are you doing now? What we suggest you do in the future. The threat analysis, how to position yourself and your company to where you understand when a threat comes in, and some of the protocols of restoring or handing over as personnel changes. So all these are covered within this backup strategy guide in great details. Let's talk about defense against the ransomware. What is ransomware? And are we targets? Yes, we're all targets, especially those who've been hit with it before, because criminals usually like to find multiple ways to victimize people who are infected. What we know about ransomware is that it is a malware that prevents you from accessing your system, and they force you to pay a ransom, and they to decrypt because they encrypt your data and lock your system out of it. And typically, if the ransomware is not paid within a specific period of time, they count down the accessibility for that private key, and it becomes, in fact, destroyed. But paying the ransomware does not necessarily guarantee that you will ever gain access to your data. And every day we deal with calls coming in from home users to large businesses, and we're helping people restore their data without having to pay these ransomwares. What causes ransomware? Those accidental or unknown downloads. We're tricked into clicking on something. That could be through emails and spam, rogue attachments. It can also be misleading advertisements. You know, the examples I listed here are some of the banner ads or pop-ups that happen. Sometimes I've heard about ransomware that is so sensitive that it doesn't take a click. You can even mouse over it. So that rule of thumb is, if it looks weird, if it's not normal, something new, don't even touch it, and contact your system administrator or your IT director. Compromised web pages and executable downloads. You have to know that it's coming from a trusted source. Infected and removable drives are like real viruses. If I have let's say a USB drive that's infected or it's corrupted, and I'm plugging it into something that's unaffected, you know, those malicious code can easily spread between the two connected devices. One of the biggest vulnerabilities is the examples: outdated browsers, operating systems, software application. These guys are looking for weaknesses to exploit those operating systems and those browsers. Keep your software, keep your operating system, stay current. It is critical. Some of the preventions. We talked about the education and instituting policies and procedures. We don't like it as employees when we're restricted, but it's not because our bosses or management wants to handcuff you. We're just trying to control, if there is an attack, how deep it can go into the company. Keep that antivirus and anti-malware up to date. Check those filtered attachments. Check the files, whether they're, are they a .exe or a .zip. And make sure you show those hidden file extensions, because what may look like a PDF might be really an exe file. And the last one is use a firewall. And I'm going to ask Jack to kind of expand on here of the importance of using a firewall. Jack?
Well, there's a lot of attacks, so modern firewalls can actually sense and protect you from those unforeseen problems where people actually try to fake their addresses or try to attack your machine. So firewall is one of the basic securities on your system. So a lot of people ignore firewalls because they, oh, I cannot go somewhere, something's blocking me. Well, that's what it's designed for.
Yeah.
There's so many fake websites, fake addresses, everybody's spamming, even phone calls. You get your phone calls that somebody spoofs the names or phone numbers. So firewall, even every modern operating system comes with basic firewall, and turning off firewall, it's one of the worst things you can do.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And if you do get hit with the ransomware, and you suspect at any reason that you may be infected, disconnect from everything, the network, the storage devices, and the Wi-Fi, and immediately go to your, the person that runs your IT in your office. So in building the plan, it's important to list how do you prevent it and how do you detect it, almost like when we were children and we had that family fire escape plan, or if you're in an accident, you have a list step of what you do. And that list step can be, what does it look like? How do we disconnect from the machines? How do we safely shut everything down? And then what's the next step? Who do we contact? And who do we make sure that our data has not been compromised? So in mitigating the risks with backup and helping, how does Nova Backup help and what can you do? Well, backup is a big part of it. We offer what's called a system level backup, which allows you to do in catastrophic failure, a disaster recovery, creating either a boot disk or a boot media. And we can do this to a different machine or a different location. And it's down to the motherboard level, giving, it copies over the drivers, the drive recognition, application, software, and the operating system. So in that case of a failure and you need to do a disaster recovery, this image, you can buy a new machine, plug in the boot media, remount from the local backup target the most recent image, and you don't have to install anything. So a lot of people use this in avoiding paying the ransoms. They just do an image restore. Make sure that you have multiple locations and multiple copies. We recommend a 3-2-1 backup strategy, meaning that you should always have 3 backups. That is 2 local and in 2 different locations that you own, that you can get to, and that you can restore either your personal data or your company's business, get it back up and running, and then the one off-site for that extra layer of protection. Moving into the next phase of the webinar, maintaining some compliances. So we talked about all those different industries, from banking to real estate to healthcare. Those governing agencies put all kinds of compliances on top of your business, and it's critical that you meet it. And some are simple and some are quite detailed, but you're at risk of getting audited if in fact you don't follow some of these 6 fundamental effective compliances. And that would be, make sure everybody understands what those compliances within your industry are and the procedures and how you're supposed to conduct your business. I would actually designate somebody in your office to stay with the heartbeat of those compliances. They're always changing. They're always trying to make it better, and they need to have access into that person and that regulatory to be able to effectively understand and then conduct those training sessions and education sessions, whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, I think should be fine. But you've got those effective lines of communication to your employees and yourself. You know who to talk to and who to question if you have anything in doubt, like the old rule adage, let's be safe than sorry. What we know about most industries is that backup is not optional. Your data must be recoverable. You must have a copy offsite. You must have backups frequently. They must be encrypted. You must have a written backup plan, and you must test your recovery. I think a good habit, so that if disaster strikes, is to make sure that you run, quarterly tests. Would that be sufficient, Jack, or would you even do it weekly?
It really depends on the industry and how critical your data is. I mean, the the longest I would go without even testing would be maybe monthly. Other than if you have time, I would do once a week. Test if you can restore some data. Because there's nothing worse than finding out that you've been backing up for a year and now you go to restore, there is some corruption somewhere and you cannot restore the data. And you really, if data is important to you, which it is, your business is important, you need to not only back up, but test that data if you can restore it. Make sure that you can restore it.
Sure. All right, well, we want to open it up to questions, so there's one more section, and we wanted to keep it going as we have a really large turnout today. So again, everyone, thank you for coming and being here with us. We appreciate your business and we appreciate your time. What can you expect from your backup vendor? Some of the questions you want to ask is, where's your technical support based? Are you outsourced? Will they help initial backup jobs? Here at Nova Backup, we provide professional services both before you become a customer with testing, because we've designed the software and we want you to become fluent with it and get kind of off in testing, and offer it as a time-saving feature so that even in the trial period, you can set up a couple of jobs. We can help you show you around the software so that you can quickly assess that if it's a nice fit, Nova Backup and protecting your data. In addition, once you do become a customer, we complete that custom installation, and that gives you a tremendous amount of peace of mind knowing that we've set up the software the way that it's designed to be set up so that you can know that you can get your data back. So you want to definitely ask if the latest technologies are supported. We do support, Exchange, the latest version, SQL, all the operating systems from Microsoft as well. So as those change, we stay up to date with them. We offer. Does that backup company offer physical and virtual machine coverage? And then what about central management? We offer a free management tool which allows you from one pane of glass to see and monitor your backups to make sure that everything is backing up quickly. So with Nova Backup, you decide where your data lives. There's no limits on drives or file types, and we are continuously improving our speed. I know that, Jack, the last time that we did a webinar, you did a test, and I forget, wasn't it a certain amount of files, how quickly we could restore?
It was right. So it was one big backup. We did backup. It was about 20 minutes to 30 minutes backup. And in the past, the import of this backup would take about the same time.
I see.
But with the new version 19, we showed live that it actually took 2 or 3 seconds to import that backup. So that was a quite improvement. So we do work constantly on improving speed and reliability of the product.
Great. And that seems to be every version we seem to get faster. I don't know where we can go, how much faster we can go after 2 seconds, but we'll try to go nanoseconds. Anyways, again, why NovaStor? We're setups included with everything. Your software will be installed for you. You'll know that your backups are working from day one. You've got a team. You're not just buying software here. You're buying our team, and we are that type of company that likes to get on the phone and likes to talk and likes to be available, for our customers. Additionally, we hire in our technical departments IT directors and former system administrators like yourselves, and some of you that are IT professionals, so they understand the heartbeat of what you're looking in backup, and also understand that this is just one single component of all the work that you need to do. So before we get into the question and answers, I just wanted to share with you that you can call me or email me, give me at least 30, 45 minutes, let's call it an hour, but I'll be more than happy to offer you 15% on any product. You can keep this information. You will also get a copy of the webinar, and it'll be posted on our YouTube channel as well. And then to claim your signed book, here's where you would go, fill out the form. And again, if there's something special where you're worried about somebody in addiction, or you're worried about, or somebody's going through a medical challenge and you think that it might be for them, I'd be happy to customize that, the dedication in the book. So thanks for attending. I'm going to open it up now to questions and answered, and we'll get intimate and kind of enjoy. Let me grab some of these questions. And here's the first question. So my biggest question: how often to do an image backup versus a full backup? So how often to do an image backup as opposed to a full backup? Also, could I use media installed and a full backup to accomplish the same as the image backup? So I think the real question we should address first is how often should you do an image backup and how often should you do a full backup?
Absolutely. Image backup is designed really to bring your machine up. So we recommend image backup every 4 weeks. If you want to run more than that, you can. I mean, there's nothing stopping you, but typically once a month or every 4 weeks to refresh the image so you can bring the machine up. Besides image backup, some people go, oh, I just do image backup, then I don't want a normal full backup, file level backup or differentials. You really need both. Image is designed to bring the machine back from, let's say, hardware failure, but every day access to files that you want to restore, it's much simpler to use normal file level backup to restore them. So image once a month or every 4 weeks. I recommend full backup once a week. Then if you have a lot of data, then differential throughout the other days. So if you do not have a lot of storage, a lot of data, I would prefer full backup every day.
Next question. What was the suggestion for testing the restore?
Quite simple. You do your backups once a week or once a month. Open your file level backup, see if you can restore a single file. Select one file or 2 files, random files, restore them to alternate location, see if they restore.
And Jack, somebody asked a similar question and said, how do you test the restore, but without overwrite of system in case it doesn't work?
Right. So if you do using file level backup, you can restore to files to alternate location. The image backup, you can mount image backup as a drive letter and see if you can access the files. It's actually listed on our website how to test image backups.
Okay. It says, and I think this is the same person, he said, but when you restore an image, aren't you wiping out any chances since the last image, or do you recommend a spare internal backup to boot? We have,
right. So when you're restoring image to your destination, whatever you have on your destination will be wiped out. So if this is mission critical system, a lot of people actually have multiple hard drives, spare hard drives sitting around. So if you have time and you want to go much deeper into it, you can replace your hard drive with a spare one and perform the restore just to see if real life scenario.
Another question: how do you stage your backups to protect yourself from ransomware? We have that listed in the document and the handouts that you all have access to. And there are 3 handouts, so please make sure that you get these PDF documents here. The first one is just our small to medium business product portfolio page. And if some of you are looking for some of our other enterprise level products, no problems. No problem. I will be able to talk to you about that and put you in touch with our solutions team as well. So make sure you do get those documents so that you can dive into doing these backups correctly. Is there any special requirement to backup and restore a VM?
There's really no special requirements. It really depends whether you're dealing with Hyper-V or VMware. So we do support both Microsoft Hyper-V, that is pretty straightforward, and we also support VMware. But with VMware, you have to have full licensed version of VMware because only that version comes with the storage API. The free version of VMware Server cannot be backed up with pretty much any backup software because it's missing the critical component, which is storage API.
So how to stage your backups to protect yourself from the ransomware, we addressed that, and that's going to be in one of the handouts. Nice presentation. How do I test the backup? Should I have another hard drive for testing? You can do it with multiple USB drives, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Multiple USB drives is a very cost-effective way of testing and restoring, and also making sure that you do have those two localized backups, and then you can keep them at two different locations to reduce the chance of flood and fire at the same time in those locations. What's the difference between an image backup and a full backup? I think we did answer that.
We did answer that.
Because so the system image is the entire...
image backup is designed to bring the entire system. There is no file selection. You can only select partitions or disks. File level backup, you can select individual files, and image is typically done just to bring the machine back. File level backup will be, so you can also restore everything from the file level backup on a machine, but it's much easier to restore individual files.
And then full backup would allow you to go and drill into those specific files and restore those specific. Okay. How do you test restorability? We had talked about that. That's also in the handout for building a better backup strategy. The ransomware checklist, you guys are going to enjoy that document. We really worked hard on those and did a lot of research. Can you back up to two targets on the same job, or would go to a NAS, or to another would go to a cloud? I mean, you can set up redundant sets or mimic your sets to go to one place or another.
Our software cannot back up simultaneously to multiple locations, so unfortunately it's one at a time. But the easiest thing would be there's a lot of NAS devices that can has copy jobs. So if you back up your NAS, then you hook up the, let's say, USB drive to your NAS. You can set your NAS itself to duplicate that, to copy the backup file to external device, or even to synchronize with another NAS on different location. But that will be the job of the NAS, modern NAS device.
Okay. I'm fighting cancer at the present time, and this is the sort of thing that can give me strength. Well, I can't wait to send you a book in dealing with the medical challenges. You know, I never thought that I would have a life after any medical condition. So with the right attitude, with the right determination, and with the right faith, most people seem to be able to get over any situation that they're dealt with in life, and I hope that you can find some tremendous strength within the book that I send out to you, and God bless you, sir. Next question. Can you restore the physical backup to virtual?
At this time, we treat physical and virtual as physical, so you could restore, you're going to treat physical as, you're going to treat virtual like physical, so you will restore data like you would do to physical hard drive. So there'll be more things coming probably towards end of this year. So we're hoping to improve those physical to virtual restores.
I'll try to repeat Jack's answers because we're moving him closer to the microphone here. How do you request the book? That was answered. It was back once again, just in case. It was back on this slide here. You can go to this link and you can request the book here. I'll leave it on the screen for just another few seconds, and then we have a few more questions, and we'll let incredible the amount of people that we have and all of you sticking around in attendance. So we really appreciate it. Let me jump to the next question. So when using a removable drive in a backup rotation, like USB drives, can you limit the number of backup images on the target drives to keep them from filling up?
Absolutely. We do offer what it's called retention. So that's, at this time, it's a separate process. You can set the images or backups to append to media, so it generates new backup. Then you can schedule a retention job, and you can specify how many backups you want to keep. And what it's going to do, it's going to go and delete the oldest ones, or the number that you can go by number of backups or time.
Or time. So age or count, you can select that on the retention settings. Do you offer offsite backup solution? We don't personally, but we have two partnerships with Amazon S3 and First Backup, and you add those as targets, and then you can send your redundant backup set to those offsite. You do get some gigs of data for free with them. The difference between the two is that First Backup offers, they're faster, and they offer monitoring if for any irregularities that may happen with your backup sets. And then Amazon S3 is less expensive and a bit slower, but the reality is nothing is coming back quick from the cloud. So do we recommend differential or incremental? I know that Jack is going to say he prefers differential. So do I. They're just they're bigger backups and they're more weight on your local backup device, but they restore easier rather than having to go through and restore each and every incremental. And the difference between the two is incremental backup, only the incremental changes day to day, meaning if you've typed one sentence, then the next day it's going to pick up whatever the changes are again, where differential does carry those through. All right, so can we just copy the image from one backup location to a USB?
Absolutely. Once you make backup to one device, you can copy to another one. So if you have USB, you can copy to it, take it offsite.
Okay, great. In the past days, I've had a power outage right on the same when VM backup job starts. Multiple VMs were badly corrupted. I have to start from scratch since the VMs were not visible from the hypervisor, Hyper-V. How do you manage to recover from that type of failure? How do you repair the file level backup of the VM in order to be able to recover? Now, and if this is a question that we need to maybe send an email for at that time to clearly understand it, I'm not sure.
It's kind of, I do not know if Windows got corrupted or if the backup with VMs got corrupted. So probably the best thing would be to actually contact our support, so with a little bit more details on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Fill out a support ticket on the support page on novabackup.com. Click on the support tab and then fill out a ticket. And that way give all the information that you want, and then you can have direct access into our engineers. If my computer goes down, I buy a new one, but the operating system is now more advanced, like from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Could I restore my image backup on the new computer with the updated OS, and how's that going to work?
Well, if you have image of Windows 7 and you have new computer with Windows 10, if you restore the image, you're going to get Windows 7. And most likely your computer may not even boot because the new computer will require modern operating system. So the old newer machines probably require Windows 10 or Windows 8 because there's no drivers for your Windows 7 machine. So in that case, the only thing you can do once you get Windows 10 new machine, just restore the file, the data that you have from the file level backup, like your documents, pictures, photos, and all the programs you're going to have to reinstall.
And so, I put the link back up. Just a couple more people are asking you how to get the copy of it. There's a couple more questions, and we'll let you guys go. There's like 3-4 more questions. So I'm still confused about the image backup. If I do an image backup every month, does that mean that the previous image backup will be wiped out and replaced with most recent image backup, or is the new image backup added to the backup hard drive as a new file? I think that would have to do with retention.
The answer is whatever you're going to set it to be. So by default, if you don't change anything, it's set to override. If you uncheck option to override, it's going to generate new one with a new date and timestamp. So you have a full control whether you want to override the images or you want to generate additional images.
Great. Regarding having 2 copies of backup files for IT guys, this this must be nothing, but for me, I need some details. Can you recommend just how to automatically copy backups to another location in order to have copies of backup files in two different locations?
Just to automate, I mean, the simple answer to this is if you're backing up to USB hard drive, have two USB hard drives, rotate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
One day back up to one, next day back up to the second one.
Yeah, and you can also use some other medias, some of the zip sticks, depending on.
And USB hard drives are very inexpensive those days,
Yeah.
especially 2.5-inch drives. Minimum, you should have two USB hard drives if you're backing up to this.
Okay. A follow-up question: will this feature be in future software? I'm not sure what that is. I think it was talking about the feature that the gentleman had requested before.
We're working constantly on improving the product, so there will be new features coming probably towards end of this year or beginning of next year.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the ability to display the question. I only can see it as notes. Otherwise, that's something I will check on with the next webinar. And I'm going to be doing the same webinar again on Wednesday at 7 a.m. We've got, a lot of East Coast and European people that want to be a part of it as well. So a few more questions. Any special requirements or steps to restore a system image to a server with a RAID array?
When it comes to RAID array, pretty much your system RAID has to be the same. So if you do image backup of the machine without the RAID controller and you're moving to the new one with a RAID, it may not work. Same thing if you go from RAID to non-RAID. Unfortunately, that's quite a bit more complex. So when you do RAID to RAID, it has to be the same type of RAID controller.
Boot disk must be redone with new versions of NovaStor? It's a question.
Absolutely. When you have an updated version of Nova Backup, you should recreate the new boot media. So every time there is a new release, you install the new version, you should recreate new boot media.
Can you explain shadow copy? And does it work with all running applications?
Shadow copy is a function of Windows. Microsoft introduced shadow copy quite a long time ago, and what it allows you to do, it allows you to back up or access any files that are locked. So it actually creates a snapshot and we use the snapshot to back up the files. Probably the best person to explain, or you can Google the information what shadow copy is.
I want to say thank you for, somebody who said compelling survival story, Eric. Thank you. And thank you for all those kind words. I have had, it's really great because I've been here for 5 years. So I've been able to really meet a lot of people here, through a business conversation, or I've had communications with you. So thank you for your inspiring words for myself as well. And I'm glad that a lot of you are enjoying that we're answering these questions and that you really appreciate this webinar and what we're doing. So it's nice to get to really understand and be connected to our customers. Not seeing the form to fill out, it's listed on the screen right now. It's at the bottom of the page. You can go.novastor.com / and then it's got the rest 6 below book request. Let's see. The handouts, are they available on the website? That's something, let me talk to marketing and see if we can't upload them on there, but they should be in your command bar right there where you can click on it and have an instant download for that Nova Backup small to medium business portfolio, as well as the ransomware checklist and building a better backup strategy. Can you back up programs? Absolutely. Yeah, that comes with the image backup where it's the system or in file level. Yeah. So yes, you can back up, and we've got 2 more questions, or a couple more coming in. You have an amazing story. I have spoken to you, and I can see how far you've come from a guy that was injured. So thank you so much. It hasn't been easy. It's taken years, and like I said, the biggest obstacle in my life was not the 8 days on the mountain. It was learning to find my way out of that darkness and begin to tell the truth and have a life, that I was reclaiming my life to the person I was always meant to be. So thanks for that as well. Not seeing the form to be filled out. It's on the screen right now. There's a hyperlink. It's the website there. And I think, what's the command bar? Oh, the command bar is what you see on your screen with the webinar. And there should be an area there to pick up. Yeah, because I'm clicking on there should be 3 hyperlinks. And if you want, email me, and it's the orange arrow that you want to click on look for the orange arrow, and with the orange arrow you can download the documents. It's called the control panel, not the command bar. Everybody, okay, you see it now. Great, I saw that. Thank you much, gentlemen, for your time. Excellent, tremendous respect for what you've navigated through, Eric. Thank you for all these compliments that are still coming in. I just thank you. Another one was somebody just emailed me. Thanks for the amazing story and attitude. Wow. Well, thank you for your business. We do appreciate your business, and those kind sentiments are much appreciated. Thank you for the webinar, and have a great meeting, likely to you as well. Yes, you can get a copy of the webinar. It'll be sent out to you, advising you that it's posted up onto our YouTube page. We had answered the control panel, and any questions that you have, please email them to me. And so, again, we're going to sign off. We're going to say thank you. It was great to share my story. Thank you for the kind words of having a great product, of being there for our customers. And we hope to see you the next time. And I look forward to speaking to many of you. Take care.